for our only radio station's owner, Carl Goldman, to talk about K-HITS and the disaster relief effort.
Thank you, Al. I'm a radio guy, so no slides. No slides. No visuals. Yeah. Actually, you know, it's funny. I've been in radio. I'm actually second generation radio, as is my wife. And for those who don't know, my wife and I purchased 1220 back in 1990 when it had been on the air for about 8 months. We sold it. We ran it through the earthquake and all through the 90s, then sold it to Clear Channel in 1998, who was a big broadcast company. They turned it into KISS AM for a while, and then when the economy took a dive with the stock market crash in the 2000 period, they ended up moving the station up to the Antelope Valley, and it was very hard to run a local station from Lancaster. So we ended up buying it back again. We bought it back 2003, and it's ironic because the day we bought it back, it was October 2003, and we were getting it set up, and the fires, for those, how many of you were here in 2003 still? So just about everybody. But if you remember, the fires were coming from Simi Valley and working their way over the hill over to the west side, over by West Ranch and Stevenson Ranch. And we had some conversations with the city, and they said, it's unlikely it's going to come over the hill, but if it does, could you guys be up and running? And by then we had already had, at the time, a state-of-the-art website, and we were already running with that, and we said, okay, we can hook up the station and run some wires and get ourselves up and running. And about 6 hours later, we got a call from the city saying, hey, you better get on the air. And so we started emergency coverage without any promotion, any publicity, without any expectation of being on the air at that time. And the phones were ringing off the hook. When the dust settled, and all of you were here, so you know there was evacuations taking place, the fire came over the hill, and we were broadcasting nonstop. And at the time, we were also putting that information up on our website. And back then, this is pre-Facebook, pre-social networking, and back then the newspapers were afraid of the internet. So no one was putting local news up on the website. We started putting it up, and the phones were ringing off the hook. The listeners were back. We got all this publicity and promotion and a jump start. And when the dust settled and we looked at the numbers and tried to analyze what happened, we looked at the numbers on the website, and that's when the light bulb went off, and we realized we're no longer in the broadcast business. We're in the information business. And we did a complete 180. The station turned, we hired a full news staff. We focused on the website. We ended up with a jump over everybody else doing that. Today, I haven't looked at the numbers yet, but I would suspect if it's like any other day, we didn't have any major emergencies. Today, we probably have somewhere between 90 and 100,000 page views just today on our website in a 24-hour period. We began launching our emails. How many of you get the email news briefs? So almost everybody here. We launched that. We're coming up on 2 years now. We launched that July of 2009. We just recently won the biggest award for radio. Radio Inc. puts out a national award on convergence media, on using electronic media and the internet, and we won the national award, taking first place over the 4 other finalists, major radio stations, with those email alerts. Today, that email that went out is now subscribed by about 19,400 residents of Santa Clarita and growing by hundreds on a weekly basis. So we're tapping in with our internet and with our emails. We're actually tapping in on a daily basis to the Santa Clarita resident in much larger numbers than the on-air portion of the radio, which reaches about 20% of the population tuning into us in a non-emergency. We root sometimes for emergencies to get that audience. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, sometimes we do create them. So for us, for the radio station, the electronic side of it, the web, the emails, and we've branched out now and are doing weekly emails that are very focused. In fact, Henry Mayo's involved in one we do that's a health and beauty email. We do a recipe of the week. We do a design one for those who want to know what's happening around Santa Clarita. There's a Thursday email that lists the top things to do over the weekend. And all of those emails now are in the thousands and thousands of subscribers and growing. So we see that as a major piece of the KHTS media that we do out in Santa Clarita. The emergency side, how many of you were here during the 94 earthquake? Wow, a lot. So most of you know, back then when we were KBET, we were all earthquake all the time for 6 months, from the day the earthquake hit in January until really the 5 and 14 got rebuilt sometime toward the end of June. We were nonstop earthquake coverage, and that was a remarkable time, a remarkable way that this community came together. And in a way, for the radio station, it's probably one that will never happen again, because now with the internet and social media and cell phones, it's a different thing. The cell phones, back then the cell phones were the size of this setup that Andy has here for the hospital, and our guys would take a cell phone out and they drive the surface streets, and they'd be calling into the station with traffic reports. But most residents did not have cell phones in their cars or anywhere else. So we were really the only mechanism of communication for those 5-6 months, for those who are here who know that. So when we purchased the station again, I'm going to segue over to the Disaster Coalition. We purchased the station again in 2003, had the fires, and then right after that, at the beginning of 2004, we had the floods that took place. And if you recall, there were about 75 homes that were damaged, in many cases lost completely. A lot of them were the mobile home parks. There were 3 mobile home parks that were severely hit. And then also over here in Friendly Valley, 2 homes that were on the hillside actually had a mudslide come down, and those homes had to be taken away forever. They could never be replaced. And at the time, because it was the hillside and it was out there it was in the city limits, but it was also when those homes were built, it was under county jurisdiction. All of them were being sued. The developer was being sued, the city was being sued, the county was being sued. And also back then, President Bush was not a big fan of California, because California, and during the election, had not voted. I don't know if that's the reason, but California was not kind to him, and so he was not kind back to California. So Bush was not being very quick about declaring California a disaster area to bring FEMA in and get some of the federal funding. And Santa Clarita was not the only community hit. So we suddenly found ourselves with about 78 homes and some 300-400 residents where the safety net was going to drop out. The Red Cross at the time had a mandate to cover everything for the first month. I was on the board of the Red Cross. I realized that month was winding down pretty quickly. We had behind-the-scenes calls from the city that they can't do anything. And so we formed this coalition called the Disaster Coalition. It's pretty much a who's who of Santa Clarita. The hospital's involved with it. All the school systems are involved with it, the sheriffs, all the first responders are part of this, the Interfaith Council, Chamber, business community. We formed this under the KHTS umbrella to begin with. We created with KHTS and with a resident of Sand Canyon, Diane Green, my wife. They came up with the concept. We received support from the city, the county, formed the coalition in 2004, and put it under a 501c under the umbrella of the Senior Center, because at the time, the Senior Center, through their Handy Workers program, was dealing with a lot of the mobile home tenants that had lost their homes. Set that up. Luckily, Arnold went to Washington, and played Terminator with Bush. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but suddenly FEMA money came in and assisted and helped out with that disaster. We had the coalition and realized that we had a pretty unique thing. And so with each emergency that's taken place, the coalition has ramped up. It's now a permanent organization. It's ramped up to fill that void. We come in as that second layer. We call it the second responder, because we have all the first responders part of the coalition, but when there's a need and the first responders can't handle it, or after the fact when a disaster's taken place is long forgotten. 2007 fires are a good example. We're coming up now on 4 years in October for the 2007 fires here, and all of you remember that. Well, there were 22 homes burnt down in Santa Clarita Valley for the 2007 fires. Some 35 families impacted because some were renters, and to this day, we're still working with 3 of the families. We've not closed the case on 3 of the families. The coalition has been there from the start, with the first responders helping out to begin with, and then the coalition coming in and assisting in all kinds of ways to help those families and continue to help those families. Currently, there was a recent fire. We stepped in and took care of that. We're coming up on the July 4th parade. Al, you were talking about the July 4th parade. Let's make sure this year we have a safe July 4th parade. For those who remember, last year's July 4th parade had a tragedy take place. Those who don't remember, the car came in, went into a crowd of spectators, and it was just a tragedy. Some 200 or 300 spectators actually saw it happening in real time as it took place. Kids, families, parents. And again, at that time, there were a lot of threats of lawsuits, a lot of liability exposure from a variety of levels, whether it's city, county, sheriffs, the town center. And no one was stepping in to help facilitate some of the counseling that actually needed to take place for the spectators, not for the victims, but the actual spectators. So the coalition stepped in, and within a matter of hours, not only did we set up a system to get counseling for the ones who needed it over a period of time and pay for that counseling, and thanks to the Child and Family Development, Child and Family Center, we used them, and they contributed half of their resources, and we kind of split the difference between the coalition and a great partnership with the Child and Family Center. We put many people through on counseling with that. Because it's the radio station, we had the support also of the city, the newspapers, the college, all posted up information right away, and working behind the scenes with the sheriff to make sure that the witnesses really were impacted and really were witnesses to this. We put a lot of people through that. So the coalition has taken on a pretty unique role over the years. There's no way to invent what's going to take place. You can't anticipate it. So we're fluid. We have no expenses. We do not go out and raise money. You will never see a disaster coalition golf tournament, I promise you that. Oh, I know, we need another charity golf tournament here, don't we? We have no expenses, so the money can slip right in from the donation to the specific need without any overhead. So we're able to funnel that money right through, and when a need occurs, we're able to get both support financially, and for every dollar we take in, we probably are giving out $10, $15, $50 in-kind donations. So it's really an incredible partnership of weaving things through. How many of you are aware of the Disaster Coalition? Few are. Okay, good. And we have a website. You could go to that, which is scvcoalition.com, and you can check that out. Radio station's website, as I said, continues to grow. We're expanding. We're doing some exciting new things with the website, so be on the lookout over the next few months as we try out a variety of things. The fun thing for me, as I said, I'm second-generation radio, and I kind of think I know it all in radio, which sometimes gets me, actually quite often gets me into trouble when I think that. But with the internet and with the new technology, I don't know anything. and no one knows anything. There's no path laid out. There's no true test as to what works and what doesn't work. And the beauty is changing so rapidly, and between the technology and the uses of it, it's changing so fast that whatever works right now isn't necessarily going to be working 6 months from now or a year from now. So for us, that's exciting because it's creating a whole new business model for us, a whole new business structure, a whole new way to reach out to the community, a whole new set of experiments. We throw 10 things up on the website, or 10 projects, and 9 of them were good ideas but didn't work for one reason or another. Either the resources took too much to make it happen. Some are probably a little ahead of the curve. Some of them were bad ideas and should be dumped. But 1 out of the 10 sticks, like the emails, and we learn from it, experiment further, and grow. And so it's exciting to see what's transpired in a very short time. I mean, the emails haven't been even 20, it'll be coming up on 24 months now. And to realize that we're sitting there probably with our email, those emails on a daily basis, I would suspect reach more Santa Clarita residents in terms of giving them the news than any other source or combined sources out there on a daily basis. I don't know any source even close to that. So that's pretty exciting for us. Questions? Yes. No, I'm sorry. Are you just getting ready to hand the mic over? It's been a long night, so. Yeah, go ahead.
If no one has questions, I wanted to thank Carl for coming. Oftentimes, Al and I put our heads together of what can we bring as far as topics to this meeting, and everybody here tonight was really valuable and great services to our community. But I got to tell you, Carl Goldstein and his wife and the people that work for him, people like Carol Rock, Sharon Bronson, and others, not only do they talk and come out and visit with the community, they walk the walk. They don't just talk it. They roll their sleeves up. They do great things for our community. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks for coming out and sharing with us.
And before you close, since there are no questions, there's one question, but I actually would like to mention two quick projects that we have. And Spence spoke at this group because I watched his YouTube moment about our Sacramento trip that we do every year, which is a lobbying trip. So I don't need to dwell on that, but that's something we created some 6 years ago and is now an annual event with 75 leaders going up. Based on the success of that, I don't even know if Spence knows this yet, but we've decided to do an annual Washington, D.C. trip that will become a sister to the Sacramento trip. First one is now planned for May of 2012, and just as we work with our Assemblyman Cameron Smythe for the Sacramento trip, we're working with our Congressman, with Buck McKeon, on the Washington, D.C. trip. So that will be, right now we're tentatively set for May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, if we can land some hotels. There doesn't seem to be a recession in Washington because hotels are booked through May 2012 already. The other project I'm very excited about, talking about rolling up our sleeves, is my wife Jerry and I were approached by Habitat for Humanity a number of months ago with a concept of coming up here to Santa Clarita, and instead of doing their normal habitat model, we're doing a twist of it, and we're creating something called Homes for Heroes, which is focused completely on vets. We've got 3 phases. You're going to be hearing a lot about this, and in about 2 or 3 weeks we're going to go public with this. We formed a committee of most of the stakeholders in Santa Clarita with those who are attached to vets, and then those also in all the areas that we need to accommodate them, be it banking, finances, housing. And the plan is, on November 11th, we're going to launch our first project, Veterans Day, and we're going to take their brush for kindness, and we're identifying a number of vets' homes. We're looking at young vets who were injured in one of the Middle East conflicts over the last 10 years, and we're going to go in and retrofit those homes based on whatever their need will be in the handicap. And then that will then spurn a variety of other homes that we'll do throughout the year, but make it an annual event every Veterans Day that will be this Brush for Kindness. On a broader level, we're looking at purchasing homes in certain neighborhoods and turning 4 or 5 homes around for vets, not just the vets from 10 years ago, but all vets. And then I'll answer you, and then our phase 3 vision will be to take over do a full development of 25, 30 homes somewhere in the Santa Clarita Valley, focused just for vets.
I have an idea for you. I think you should purchase. I have an idea for you. I think you should purchase this home, which was next to Carlos.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Now I just need to get the address from Darren, and I'll be all set. I don't think he wanted to put it on YouTube, so I'll go behind the scenes there.
This young lady has it.
Yes.
Mine is a thank you also. Sometimes you read the minutes of the city council meeting long before the signals got it out, and that all goes a lot for sheriff's things too, for what's going on in the neighborhood. And I wanted to thank you for Joe Messina's program and how fast he went from 1 hour to 2 hours, and now he's 3 hours, and he has a lot of interesting speakers. And also, you didn't mention the program, the 2-for-1 on the Restaurant Row. That's always a big help.
That's good. I just paid you well to do a commercial plug for us.
I can give you another one.
Yeah, that's good. You do another good. Okay, good. Thank you.
I've lived in Friendly Valley for over 22 years and was very involved with the Breakfast Club there. And we had a speaker every month. And when you and your son came, I let everybody know that was my favorite program for all the years.
That's great. You know, that was an eye-opener for me. Going out to organizations like this are eye-openers. We went out, that was about 1.5 years ago, because we had just launched the emails, and we went out to there, and that group there were maybe 60, 70 people in the room, and all had been around when FDR was president. And I thought, the first question I asked was, how many of you use the internet, thinking that I would only have a small handful raise their hands. And out of the whole room, I think there were only 1 or 2 who didn't use the internet. And then at the time I asked how many knew of our website, and also thinking there'd only be a couple. And there were about 60% of the room used our website, hometownstation.com, there I got my commercial plug-in, hometownstation.com on a regular basis. And so that was an eye-opener for me. I didn't realize how important the web was for the senior population here in Santa Clarita. So that shifted our thinking and some of the things that we're doing both on the air and on the website. Our senior hour show has been very successful, and we expanded that to a second hour that Miles McNamara hosts. That's a special show also on seniors. Miles from Comfort Keepers.
Carl, maybe you'll consider having a talk show with Mr. Ferdman as the host. And also, I forgot my thought was. I'll come up with it again. But many faceted and many layers to what you're doing. And it really serves our community, the entire Santa Clarita Valley, not just Canyon Country. And one more thing I'd like to ask you is and let everybody know that when it's time for elections, KHTS generally partners with the Signal newspaper to do a forum or
what's a candidate forum?
A candidate forum for the candidates, so that we all have a chance to hear from them, ask them questions, and so on. And Al and I do that as well. And so maybe this year you can partner with us.
We'd very much like to do that.
Or in 2012, I should say.
Sure. That would be great to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.